Both U.S. and Russian officials walked out of their first peace talks on Ukraine with confidence and satisfaction on Tuesday. U.S. President Donald Trump even hinted that he would meet Russian President Vladimir Putin before the end of February. Bae Eun-ji has more.
Top diplomats of the United States and Russia held talks in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, marking their first formal meeting aimed at ending the Ukraine war since it began 3 years ago. Following the meeting that lasted around 4.5 hours, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters that he's convinced Russia is willing to engage in a serious process of ending the conflict, and said this was the first step of a long and difficult journey.
In order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides.
Rubio's Russian counterpart described the conversation as useful, but said his country will not accept NATO troops in Ukraine as part of any peace deal.
We explained today that the presence of troops from NATO countries under a foreign flag, under the flag of the European Union, or under national flags, it does not change anything. This is, of course, unacceptable to us.
The two countries decided to hold more talks on ending the war and also agreed to work toward improving ties. Following the talks, Rubio held phone calls with his counterparts from the UK, France, Germany, and Italy, in an apparent move to reassure the European countries over concerns that they may have no place in the peace negotiations. Meanwhile, as Ukraine was not invited to Tuesday's peace talks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said negotiations to end the war in Ukraine should not take place behind the backs of the parties involved.
You can talk about anything, but no decision can be made without Ukraine on how to end the war in Ukraine. We were not invited to this meeting, the U.S.-Russia meeting in Saudi Arabia. It was a surprise for us, as well as for many.
In response, U.S. President Donald Trump dismissed Kyiv's concern about being left out and almost suggested that Ukraine was to blame for a war that began only after Russia's invasion.
But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Trump also hinted that he may meet Russian President Vladimir Putin this month. As he walked out of the press conference in Mar-a-Lago, he answered probably when asked if he still expected to meet Putin before the end of this month. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.